outside the masjid in Medina. Remember that conversation? And it was it was his pride and joy. He loved it. Now I want you to think about your house, the one that you've worked so hard to get, or your Range Rover that you worked so hard to get, or whatever it is. And put yourselves in the shoes of this companion. As soon as the ayah, you will not believe until you give lan tanallu birra, right? You will not achieve righteousness until you give freely of that which you love. As soon as this verse was revealed, he donated that whole garden. He sacrificed it. Because that's what he loved. So he submitted. You see, submission is not only to what God compels you to do, meaning he orders you to do in the Quran. Submission is also to the advice, to the suggestions, to the recommendations. So when you leave today, and I'm going to do it myself, ask God to make you a Muslim. And the first thing that's going to come to your mind is whatever sin you're doing that you like. I don't know what it is. But there's some vice you have that you like. For some of us, mashallah, we're like, even if it's not haram, even if it's just something you're going to an excess in and we can't call it haram, right? Because I don't want to assume everybody's doing some bad sin. Inshallah, none of us are. But even if it's just some excess you're going to. So let me put it as simple as possible. If you need to lose some weight and you love cheesecake, right? As soon as you start thinking about giving up this stuff that you love, man, but what about the cheesecake? I use that just to illustrate a point so I don't accuse anyone. Right? The reason you can't give it up is because you can't do it by yourself. You have to do it with the assistance of God. And when you ask God, you'll be surprised. You will truly be surprised the results you get. You say, Imam, I asked God and it didn't work. Maybe it hasn't worked yet. God doesn't respond according to your timeline. He doesn't respond, okay, God, I need this fixed by Monday. God doesn't respond to that. He responds according to his timeline. And our job is to keep submitting. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulihil kareem Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'een amma ba'd. Dear beloved Muslims, it's pleasant to be in your company. It is. You're so beautiful. You're modest. You're moral. You're intelligent. And you sacrificed your day to come and serve and worship God. And this is not placating. I'm not saying this to placate. I'm very serious. We spend much of our week around people whose values and ideas do not support ours. Okay? Especially in the society that we live in today. So it's just pleasant to come out of those foul environments and to come into a clean, refreshing environment. So we look forward to these days that we can be in the company of the believers. And whatever issues people may have as interpersonal issues, that's just life. There's always going to be some interpersonal issues. We have interpersonal issues even with our family. And you may argue with them, but at the end of the day, you love them. And in our old colloquial expressions, you go through high and hell water to help them. That's the spirit we pray that Allah will give us collectively as a community. And that's the spirit we get reports of. And I won't even go as far back as the companions of our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We'll just go back in America, in what was given the name, the Nation of Islam, and the stories we hear about the appreciation that they had for each other, and how you could always depend on someone being there to support you and protect you and aid you and assist you. Although that theology was incorrect, that spirit was not. That spirit was Muslim. That was a Muslim spirit that you had. And our prayer is that we get that back as much as we can. So Abraham's prayer, as we conclude, make us Muslims, and from our offsprings a community of Muslims. Now you see his vision. He didn't, in the first one, when he said leaders, I'm going to make you an imam, he said, and of my offspring. Now, you know, imam and ummah, they come from the same word. Imam, ummah, they all come from the same word. Right? And imam is double. Imamun is double. And one scholar said that means a leader has to be twice as concerned about the welfare of those who he's charged, or she is charged with the responsibility of leading, than a mother is with her own child, to let you know the sensitivities of leadership. And all of those of us who hold positions and titles, we fall way short of that. Way short of that. But the brilliance among one of the brilliance points of Abraham's prayer is recognizing that the individual is not an ummah in and of himself, although God calls Abraham an ummah. Kana Ibrahim ummah. Right? So yes, you see the individual, but you also see the collective. And the collective can the way the individual realizes success is in the atmosphere that provides the same opportunities for achievement and spirituality and intellectual growth and cultivation of the soul for all the participants in that group. So it's not enough for us just to be an island all to our own. Right? No. Ummah. This is the prayer of Abraham. Make an ummah of people bowing to your will, understanding that inherently the human being, no matter how independent you think you are, you are dependent upon your fellow human being. I don't care how independent you think you are. And you can say, I don't need nobody. You can't even get off the parking lot. I put my own gas. So somebody had to produce it. Somebody had to dig it out of the earth. Somebody had to refine it. You didn't make that engine out there. You didn't make the oil. You didn't make the transmission fluid. You didn't make the fuel injection system. You didn't make the computer that controls it. Nowadays, you can't even get anywhere without a GPS. At least our parents could get someplace with a map. But you need a GPS to get out of Southeast Houston. I don't need nobody. Yeah, you keep saying that. Same thing with community life. Brothers and sisters, we need each other collectively. And we have to work for an environment that allows each and every one of us to cultivate the best potential that God has put inside of us. But in order to cultivate that best potential, you have to submit your whole self to God. So Abraham's dua, oh Allah, make us Muslims. So when you leave here, make that dua, oh Allah, make us Muslims. And then Abraham's prayer, oh Allah, make of our progeny Muslims. Because we all leave stuff for our children. We have retirement and we have wills, and we put in our wills how much money we're going to leave our children and how much property we're going to leave our children. And we go get insurance policies so that our children will have a nice home and a nice car and pay for college. How about leaving them an ummah? How about leaving them a fully functioning community that they can live and express their lives in and cultivate the best that God has given them? And if we leave them all those material things, but we don't pray and work toward leaving them ummah, we've sold them short. We've shortchanged them. So very beautiful dua from Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, the rational leader, the man, the one who came to worship God through applying his rational mind to the creation and see everything you see. So how did he know we needed ummah? He was a social scientist too. He wasn't just an empirical scientist. He was a social scientist. And by him studying the human being and his social reality, he understood that man would need to live with his fellow man in a context that allowed the freedom for each to pursue the best that God had given them. But he also realized the only way to fully realize this is if they all submitted to the will of God. Abraham alayhi salatu wasalam, the great social scientist. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanatan wa fil akhirati hasanatan wa qina adhaban nar. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. قل إن صلاتي ونسكي ومحياي ومماتي لله رب العالمين لا شريك له بذلك أمرت وأنا أول المسلمين. Oh Allah, give us the good of this life and give us the good of the next, and protect us from the torment of the fire. Ameen. Oh Allah, do not allow our hearts to deviate after you have guided us, and bestow upon us from your bounty, for surely you are the one that bestows without measure. Oh Allah, we have wronged our own souls, and if you don't have mercy upon us and forgive us, certainly we will be among those who are lost. And all praise is due to Allah, the cherisher, sustainer, guardian, evolver, nurturer of everything that's in existence. Ameen. Aqim as-salat.
أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله